Hi there, everyone. It's Michelle Nayeli. You can call me either one. I like to give the option. Coming on live again today. And if we don't know each other, I've been a student of movement my whole life, a student of yoga for almost 30 years, and a teacher of yoga and movement for over 20. It makes me feel old, but hey, young at heart, right? Movement keeps you young. I have some really great examples of that in my life. And in the last live, I came on to talk about what we valued about alignment, like what we're really after. And that is many different forms of movement, but I'm most intimate with modern postural yoga. And just to be super clear, that yoga is not only the physical, but a lot of what we see and what is really popular is we could, clearly define as modern postural yoga. And alignment-based yoga is super popular. So I talked about what we really valued. And some of what came up was safety, doing things right, which was connected to safety. And we also talked a little bit about the history of back. Hello, there we go. Mercury retrograde. So I briefly mentioned how taking pictures of poses then identified the pose and took the form independent of the actual practitioner. And so then there was this idea of performing and fitting into the idea of the posture versus what had come before was an inquiry of felt sense, interoception, to feel the experience as a self-study. And if we take those two separate, we could say that the interoception, felt sense guiding us, is more of an inside-out or bottom-up approach. And if we have an idea that we're trying to fit in and our brain cognizes the pieces, that's an outside-in or top-down approach. So today, I'm going to talk about some possibilities of how we can redefine alignment itself with those same values, having a new understanding of movement science. So just in the last couple decades, there's been a paradigm shift from the deeper study and recognition of the importance of fascia. Fascia is all of the connective tissue of the body. It lines every bone, every muscle fiber. Tendons and ligaments are fascia that's just concentrated at the end of the muscle. Fascia is between things. It allows for differential movement in the body, and it connects the whole, which is super tantric, right? All one with all of this diversity. And so it's kind of a discovery, but it's been there all along, has had a total paradigm shift in the way that we see the moving body. And what's happened is we've made a shift from a mechanical view of bones as the support, muscles as levers, and we're like pieces and parts put together, to a really holistic view of the whole body web, always accommodating and navigating together as a big, huge picture. And so that changes how we look at movement, think of movement, teach movement, think about safety, because instead of zooming into one little part at a time, we zoom out and see patterns of the whole, global patterns that, again, are taking us from us being like machines to being what all the ancient teachings have said in so many different ways, layers of a human experience. So what the understanding now of fascia has given us is this concept called biotensegrity. And if you don't know that word, it means that it's living tissue that is a combination of tension and integrity. Tensegrity was a term coined by Buckminster Fuller and has to do with architectural designs that are super, super efficient, that distribute force and load throughout. And so our body, we can consider a biotensegrity structure. So instead of just the bones, we have the bones pushing out and the fascia pulling in, and the combination of those two things distributes how we deal with force, like we're in gravity, right? How we deal with movement and effort, how we deal with load that we're carrying, whether that's like literal load or like emotional load, it's all related. And it totally changes how we understand what good, healthy, safe, efficient, sustainable movement is. And so if we reconsider what alignment is, we have been looking at forms, not only in yoga, but coming from that mostly, right? We've been looking at these forms, trying to fit ourselves in by where we are in space. And if we shift to look at the web of how our whole being is handling force, it can totally change things. And I like to propose that instead of thinking of alignment, because language makes a difference, we're more like musical instruments, and we tune all of these strings and all of these lines of force, of energy, of the mechanics of how we hold the fullness of ourselves. As the great Joanne Avison describes, that we're in the round, we're a living volume, right? We are definitely not stick figures. And so if we look at the whole, we can see if there's harmony through the patterns as the distribution, the as even as possible distribution of dealing with tension and compression, and the as even as possible contribution of balanced action. And now, I used to teach in a yoga school that my dear friend Samantha Shakti led, called the Balanced Action Yoga Teacher Training. And seeing balanced action through the musculature and around the joint or around a particular pose was leaning towards a different understanding and definition of alignment. But with Biotensegrity, we add to that. So we have the balanced action of our effort and also the balanced, or as balanced as possible, distribution of the forces that we're already dealing with. So this is what I want to just put out there and see what you think and see if that resonates, because I think we're ripe to expand our definitions a little bit and expand our language a little bit. Because what happens is if we think of ourselves as tuning of this huge holistic body web, is we have to feel our way there. We can't think our way there. And that brings back the prioritization of our somatic wisdom, interoception, the felt sense. And it means that we start with a form, we start with some guidelines, but then we feel our way into the integration and the best possible expression for ourselves. We feel our way into how the life force is communicating with us, right? And it also prioritizes the whole rather than the parts. And if it is in modern postural yoga, yoga is about trying to get us into more connection, into more of the felt sense and the inner mindset of unity and connection. So why not see the whole body? We're so good at parsing things apart. We learn a lot that way, but we cannot mistake that for the whole truth, right? And then if we have to feel our way there, we will shift from that top-down, outside-in mental ideas driving movement to more of an inside-out unfolding, bottom-up way of experiencing and practicing. That's really great for our nervous system, besides being able to get out of our head, right? Which is another goal of yoga, yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Don't think your way there, feel your way there. And I haven't fully unpacked this, but I think it's also interesting when we have that inside-out agency, what that can do on our body-mind level to dismantle distorted power dynamics in guru culture and just in the culture, right? In particular in the yoga world, there's been a lot of places where power has been abused, and there's been places where we bow into our teachers, sometimes blindly, and it's a dance, right? I honor my teachers so much. I would not be who I am without them, especially Shiva Ray, for sure. And there is definitely a time and a place for our own empowerment so that we can see where there are distorted power dynamics. And if we practice from the inside out, it's laying that foundation, right? And what also happens when we feel our way there is it honors the uniqueness. There's no one way that's for everyone. We have so much diversity. And I like to inquire, thanks to Gyrotonic, and especially to Dominique Ann, how many ways are there? Instead of one way, how many ways? And then if you have a whole buffet of possibility, what is the best way that feels integrated and healthy, where you can sense all of you, not only in the physical, all at once? And when we think that way, instead of one way, how many ways? We build in options. We build in adaptability, not only on the physical, but the fascial web is really tied into our nervous system. So build in adaptability for our emotional responses and our mental responses and self-regulation. And that's really where the rubber hits the road, I think, because we live in a world that's changing so fast and full of so much uncertainty, that the more we can learn how to be creative and resilient, the better we're all off. Better off we're all going to be, right? So this is how my mind is kind of playing with the idea of alignment and the intention and hope that we can together change our language and redefine what we mean by that, or at least expand. It doesn't mean that we need to totally throw things away, right? If you want to learn how this can be applied, you might just try on these ideas and have a totally different experience. But I also want to invite you, Monday through Wednesday coming up, to the 3 keys to sustainable asana and movement practice. And I'm going to share 3 concepts that are super simple, but also when you apply them, you'll see that they're infinite. And they will honor this holistic view of biotensegrity as even as possible distribution and contribution for safety and efficiency in the body. And if it resonates and you want to investigate more, send me a message to learn about the Embodied Resilience Atelier, a 9-month training that's starting in April. But no matter what you do, if there's one thing to take away, it's this: any separation and distinction is an artifact of the way that we go looking. The way that we go investigating has been culturally, and the time that we live in is to specialize and divide, right? And then we can get a lot of information, but any idea that we are pieces, or that our experience of life is separate pieces, is an artifact of the methods of investigation. So any separation is just a mental construct. The whole is real. So if you have one thing, take that with you today. And I hope you have a great day wherever you are. The rainbows on my face are not a filter. Woohoo, that's kind of nice. I will see you very soon. And the link for the 3 keys to sustainable asana and movement practice is in my bio. Yes, it'll be recorded, but you have to sign up to get the recordings. And there's a tiny fee. It's $7 just because I want to make sure that you really want to come. Okay, I will see you there. Bye.